Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your number one source for Native American television news, Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman. I want to thank all of you for being with us on a historic week here at the Muskogee Creek Nation and for Native News Today as we speak. Lots of tribal dignitaries, administration, citizens, employees traveling back, and let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers as they make their travels, that it will be safe. But traveling back from our original homelands in Alabama to commemorate this week the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, a history-changing occurrence there for the Muskogee Creek Nation as we were fighting within ourselves, fighting the Americans, fighting Andrew Jackson there in Alabama where our homelands originally were, that led to so many different things. So the Creek Nation making that trek east to honor our history, honor our culture, and honor where we came from. And we'll have much, much more on that next week on Native News Today. But for now, we have a great week lined up for you. We visited with Congressman Mark Wayne Mullin, went to NSU as they get ready for their big symposium. So lots to talk about, lots to get to, and lots to share here with you folks on Native News Today this week. So glad about the opportunity to come into your living rooms and bring the Native news and what we have, and we certainly feel like we've got a great show as always. So with that being said, we're going to take our very first break. Don't go anywhere. We're right back with Native News Today. Looking for your next 18-hole adventure? Then take a look at Fountainhead Creek Golf Club. Nestled in the beautiful confines of Lake Eufaula State Park, large sloping greens and well-placed bunkers characterize the Muskogee Creek Nation's Floyd Farley designed course and offers a fine test of skill for any golfer. Stay up on all the latest gear and equipment with a visit to our pro shop. Have lunch at the Turn at the Clubhouse Grill. We're waiting to accommodate you at Fountainhead Creek. So give us a call at 918-689-3209 or visit fountainheadgolf.com to book your next round. Fountainhead Creek Golf Club, close to home, far from ordinary.
For 3 years, kids have been asking their parents, what is that hill on the river going to be? What answer did you give?
Did you tell them that someday that half-finished structure will be one of America's most important attractions, bringing visitors from around the country and the world to Oklahoma,
along with hundreds of millions of dollars into our economy?
There'll be state-of-the-art interactive displays that bring to life the stories, history, and culture of the 39 tribes that share this state.
A 210-acre landscape park and trail system. Beautiful retail and business space.
This will be another jewel in the crown of our state's tourism industry, and it will pay eternal tribute to the origin of our great state.
It's not a matter of whether we can afford to complete it. We simply can't afford not to. For the current generation of Oklahomans and the generations to come, let's finish it.
Let's finish it.
Let's finish it.
And welcome back to Native News Today. Jason Salzman here, and want to get started right off the bat with a very big deal going on here in Indian Country and just up to the north in Tahlequah at the Northeastern State University. Always a big Native presence there, of course, in the home capital city there of the Cherokee Nation, but also as a school. The original seminary still there, a lot of relic and a lot of history on that campus. So with that being said, they've had for 43 years now the Symposium on the American Indian. I was fortunate enough to be a presenter last year at the Symposium, so I know full well all the great things that happened there and all the great people associated with that. A Muskogee Creek lady that actually just went into the Muskogee Hall of Fame last year, Dr. Phyllis Fife. She visited with us for a few moments at the NSU campus last week to talk about the upcoming symposium and all the things that you can look forward to throughout the week at Northeastern State University there in Tahlequah for the Symposium on the American Indian.
This is our 42nd annual Symposium on the American Indian at Northeastern State University. And this year our theme is Thriving Nations, Resilient Peoples. Every year we get together as the American Indian Heritage Committee here to decide on the theme for the coming year. And we take a look at what's happening in the world and what's happening with our tribes across the nation, things that affect all tribes, and ways that we can put on a symposium to really educate people, inform people, bring some of the latest news to this area. And we invite people from our community as well as across the state. And we've had the symposium for so long, we have a national following now. So we do have people from across the nation, and last year I believe we had people from seven different foreign countries as well. We have a lot of community support for the symposium. It's kind of something that we all own as a community, having longevity, a good history. And our campus here, where we stand right now in Seminary Hall, it's very significant for us to be in a historic place, and especially a center of education that has such a strong history. So NSU, with its Indian student population being the highest in the nation, we would expect to be a center, to bring forth our annual event with a lot of vigor and a lot of input from our campus and our community. We try to include topics that are of interest to different fields of study and the different disciplines that we offer here at NSU, as well as to bring in and mix in some cultural activities and events that are just a part of what we do as a celebration, our own types of festivities, to make it scholarly, but yet give it that feel of an Indian community. And so with that, we have an American Indian Heritage Committee here, and that's made up of faculty, staff, and student representatives. We have 8 Native student organizations on campus that were founded by Native students. They're open to any student, but with various interests. We have a new Indigenous Scholar Development Center, which is a Title III Student Support Services, Student Success Center group to help increase our graduation rates and our retention rates of Native students. So we have a lot of exciting things going on a daily basis here, but this is our big event where everyone can come together and help host and have input as to what the content is for our symposium. We're going to kick off our symposium events this year with a resilience run, a 5K and 1K fun run on Saturday, April 5th, and that's open to all runners, anyone who wants to join in. That will precede the opening of the symposium. And then on Monday, the 7th of April, in the evening, we'll start our American Indian Symposium film series. This is something, again, that students initiated, and we've carried on for 10 or 12 years. But we have those pre-symposium activities, Monday night, Tuesday night films, and on Wednesday, then we'll have our opening ceremony, starting at 9 in the morning, and have 3 full days of presentations, activities, films, language seminars. We have a lot of emphasis on language revitalization for our tribal languages. And so 3 full days of symposium activities, and we will end the week with our NSU powwow Friday night and Saturday till midnight. And at the same time, we're having a linguistics, a language revitalization conference at the end. So it will be happen concurrently with the powwow.
You know, part of our mission here at Native News Today is to certainly showcase tribal citizens doing things on a national scale. And what better person to showcase this week than one of our 2 Native American congressmen in the United States House of Representatives, and that would be Mark Wayne Mullin of the Cherokee Nation. Native News Today, we've already checked off one. We sat down with Congressman Tom Cole before, and he's a member of the Chickasaw Nation, 3rd generation Native American public servant. But this time we went to the Muskogee headquarters of Mark Wayne Mullin in his office, and they were so gracious to give us some time to talk with the congressman about his tribal heritage, what it means to be a congressman in Indian country, as well as doing things for his Native people. Congressman, thank you so much for the opportunity for us to visit with you here. I believe it's the first time on Native News Today, so we're glad to be here with you.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Now, as one of the only 2 congressmen currently Native American citizens, yourself, Tom Cole, yourself, proud member of the Cherokee Nation.
Tom Cole, I call him Dad, by the way. I don't know if he finds that as affectionate as I do.
He probably does. I better not call him that. He probably doesn't mind if you do. But as a proud citizen of the Cherokee Nation, and also Tom Cole there, you guys have to be just so proud of the fact that that's really something for you guys to be the only 2, and it's a nice segue to deal with tribes too.
Well, it's a bittersweet because we should have more people out of Indian country up there serving. And when I was shocked, to be honest with you, when I got up there and Tom said, well, we just doubled our numbers. And I said, what do you mean double our numbers? He says, well, I was the only Native American here, and now there's 2 of us. Right. And I looked at him and said, are you serious? He goes, yeah. But what a better place to be represented. You go into the Capitol, and, you know, every state gets to choose 2 statues inside their capital. And we have Will Rogers and Sequoia. That speaks pretty huge of not just Cherokee Nation, because I have to point out they're both Cherokee, by the way, but it's just the fact that not only do we have the only 2 Native Americans serving, but the only 2 statues in there for Oklahoma are of Native American descent. And the pride that you're able to carry with you is something that was instilled in our family. You know, the heritage that we have, the heritage that we teach in my family is passed down from generation to generation to generation. The pride that we have in being who we are, and then to see the way the tribes are now effectively working with the counties and the states and the schools, and how they're able to invest in the communities, and people are talking about it, and people are interested in Indian country now. We're used to, we were kind of a pass-off, and people want to be educated about it. A lot of ignorance comes from Indian country because they're not familiar with it. I mean, literally, I've had people think that we still have teepees in Oklahoma. I'm not exaggerating.
No, I've ran into it myself.
And it's laughable, but that just shows the lack of education. So anytime we get an opportunity to talk about it, now we have 2 people that's willing to talk about it, Cole and myself, and we get along great. He's a great mentor, and it's a great opportunity for Indian country.
We look at, you talked about it a little bit, and we touched on it a little bit, but tribes, Chickasaw Nation, Cherokee Nation, Creek, just to throw out 3, but not to single them out. But tribes are so much different now than they were 20 years ago, and are probably going to be so different in 20 years as far as being players on a big stage, as you said, dealing with counties, government to government relations. Have you recognized that change and seen how good it's been for Oklahoma?
Well, it's kind of like a private public partnership, even though it's 2 governments basically working together.
Sure.
But we'll just name just a few in Oklahoma. Now we have obviously a lot, but you take just the Chickasaws, the Choctaws, you take the Quapaws, Muskogee Creek, and Cherokee. Just take those 5. And you look at the dollars that they invest back in the communities, and they do that because not just they're citizens of their nation, but they have pride in their backyard. You know, we're all Americans, first of all. Right. And people think that a lot of times the ignorance between Indian country and that is that they think that, you know, well, we're just interested in being Cherokee and we're a member of Cherokee Nation. And we're a nation within a nation, which is true, but there's so much pride in being an American first that all the tribes want to reinvest back behind it, and we're reinvesting in education, we're reinvesting in infrastructure, where right now the state and the federal government is falling short. because of funding issues. I mean, the state of Oklahoma is doing all right, but federally we don't have the money to invest back inside the schools like we used to invest back in the infrastructure. And you're seeing the tribes step up and do that, and it's wonderful. I mean, they're able to plug a hole that would be a gaping hole if it wasn't for tribes stepping up and saying, hey, we're going to take care of this.
And I certainly hope that you're enjoying our visit here with Congressman Mark Wayne Mullin. We're going to take a quick break here, get a commercial, and we'll be right back with the rest of our interview.
Momesh, Harishongigo Imongin, Hobidagi, Ani Omaga, Bomahahoye Imongin Oma, Bonchomegigosh. For more information about Muskogee language preservation, please call us at 918-732-7724.
Welcome back to Native News Today, and now we will continue with part 2 of our sit down with Congressman Mark Wayne Mullin as he discusses the Native American Vets Memorial. You said they're not just Cherokees, they're Americans. They feel that sense of pride in the country as a whole. Certainly can't be ignored when you look at per capita Native American nations sending more of their people into military service to fight for this country.
Absolutely.
And that leads us to your legislation you sponsored recently, the passage of a Native American Vets Memorial. I know you're so excited about that. You're really passionate about that Vets Memorial to be on the National Mall. I know they wanted to have them put it inside of the National Museum of American Indian. Just wasn't the space.
Right.
And I think you would agree that's something that needs to be out on the mall and be out there for everyone to see.
And it's not so much as showing a separation, but because a lot of people took this wrong. They said, well, why is it so important? They already have a memorial. They already have a World War I, World War II, and Korea and Vietnam War. Why is it so important, you know, that you have this one separate? Well, a lot of people don't realize that in World War I, we had Native Americans serving, and they weren't even citizens. Mm-hmm. They were fighting for this country. Mm-hmm. And a country they wasn't even able to vote for yet. Code talkers didn't start in World War II. In fact, you can go through almost every conflict that we've had and war that we've had since we've been a country, and you can see Native Americans have fought and participated and have used their native tongue to be messengers. And it wasn't until World War II where we had citizens that were fighting for their country as a citizen for America, and also for their heritage of knowing that the homeland that they grew up in needs to be protected. And so when you see the sacrifice that any country has made, and then then this bill that was passed in the 90s where allowed them to build a memorial, mm-hmm. but it was kind of like a feel-good bill, you know, pat on your back and say, hey, yeah, you can build it, but provides no funds or no room for them to be able to do it. When we had the opportunity to look at this, we was like, you know, this is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And Indian country is saying, look, we'll build it. We don't want one single dime, not a single dime. We just need to have Congress to act, mm-hmm. to be able to say that we don't have to build it inside, we can build it outside, still on our property, and yet it literally took an act of Congress. Mm-hmm. But Congressman Cole jumped on board with this, Senator Inhofe jumped on board with this. In fact, all the delegation jumped on board with this. It was a bipartisan approach. When we started talking about this, everybody started going, what, are you serious? The bill's already passed in the 90s. Yeah, it already passed in the 90s, but there's no funds and there's no property for it to be built on. Once we got the opportunity to expose it, there was zero opposition. It passed through the House without one single person voting against it. It went through the Senate on voice vote with no opposition to it. And Indian country is excited. Now they're getting the opportunity to build it. Now we just got to bring everybody together and say, what do we want it to look like? Mm-hmm. And but the funding, for the most part, tribes all across the country have already stepped up and said, we'll do X amount. And the last I heard is that it's pretty much already funded.
Federal and state level, do you think we're doing a better job of listening to the tribes too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It is probably monthly we have people from Indian country come up and sit down and have a round table with us. Mm-hmm. We'll either have a breakfast or a dinner, and this goes for both sides, not just on the Democrat side, on the Republican side. Mm-hmm. The misunderstanding of what Indian country was about, like I said at the beginning, to what it's become, mm-hmm. is an eye-opener for so many people that thought we were still living in teepees.
Right.
I mean, it's the education. People fear, and I'm not saying people feared Indian country, but people fear things that they don't understand.
Sure.
And if they don't want to take the time to invest in it, because honestly, I didn't think we were that special. I mean, I grew up in this thing all the time, so why would I think that we were anything special? It's no different. In fact, I never used the word Indian country. And I'll be real honest with you, I didn't like the word Indian country when I first got up there, but everybody refers to it, so you just kind of have to use it. Because it's not Indian country, this is a country. We are America, and we didn't have an Indian country where I was raised. Everybody's Native American. And it was until I went to Washington, D.C. that I became special for being Cherokee. It's odd to me that everybody isn't, until I got up there and I realized that, you know, I was kind of raised in a bubble. And when you get outside that bubble, people have never took the time to rub shoulders to be educated about the issues that we're dealing with. And the issues really aren't that great, they're common sense issues. I mean, if you look at Indian country, what are we fighting for? What have we been fighting for? Government, get out of our way, let us live our lives. You know, we can take care of our own if you allow us to take care of our own. And we're proving it over and over and over again. And it's something that we should all be very thankful for.
Yeah, I think tribes have never had a greater strength and sovereignty as they do right now. You're right about that. So,
and we're not selfish. We're reinvesting.
Well, we certainly appreciate the hard work that you're doing on the federal level, and certainly listening to Indian country issues, being close to the heart of the matter there with the Cherokee Nation, and working with Congressman Mullen, you know, getting everything done on that level. And we appreciate the time today too, and so glad to be on the program with you.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. I hope we get to do it again, and maybe next time I might throw on a tie for you. I'm kidding. There's no way.
No, this thing is choking me to death.
Yeah, no,
thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. The Muskogee Creek Nation in the last few years has bought up and been aggressive with businesses, land, things for economic development. And with that in mind, there was wanted a way to sort of pull all that together. We could have one concise leadership plan, one concise movement as far as going forward with all of these businesses and economic interests. And that's why they created One Fire Holdings. And we visited recently at Riverwalk with One Fire Holdings CEO Gary Warnock about this new venture and how excited they are about it.
So One Fire is all about diversification and job creation. That's our mission, that's our vision to get to economic self-reliance over the long term. So as we're at the stage that we're at in our development, we know that we've got new things coming on. They're all going to create new jobs. And we wanted to create a situation, especially this week with these job fairs, to give our citizens a chance to come out, check it out, see our new logo, kind of understand what's going on, and also to meet them, start to build the database, the blueprint, and the bullpens, if you will, for the Creek talent that's available. We will use that in our strategic analyses of business opportunities, where we know we've got skills, knowledge, and abilities with our Creek citizens to put them into some of these jobs. So when the job postings come out and some of the positions are created, we want to already be able to be looking at some folks. We want to be able to be talking to some folks, and we just thought this was a good chance, knowing that where we're at in our stage of development, good things are coming, and we just want to be proactive. So we thought it was a good way to do it. We knew we needed to come out and kind of start to introduce ourselves to the community too. This has been a long time in the coming, and we're proud to be at the point that we are in our development to do that. I think we're at a good position too with the times as well, because a lot of tribes have been able to take advantage of a holding company and being able to leverage all of its assets to work together and create synergies and economies of scale, purchasing power, jobs. All that stuff you can do in such a way because of some of the tribal advantages that we have when you work together, and that's why Better Together is our slogan, is that you can achieve some kind of things that allow you to be more competitive in a marketplace, take some things that maybe otherwise would just not be able to grow as much by itself, but when these companies start to work together, they create a capability that's much larger than they could be otherwise. And so by putting them in a holding company structure, they're able to help each other, and more importantly, stay focused on their niche as well, so you don't get too spread out. And we've got a lot of good assets already in the tribe, so as they come in, they're able to achieve those economies of scale that maybe they haven't in the past. Right now, we have 2 coming through the process. We've established a very objective and rigorous process for evaluating investments, acquisitions, all those things, really for all over, okay? But we've also provided the tribe a waiver of the Phase 1 process because that's for external investments and acquisitions for tribal assets. So 2 that are coming in right now that are just finishing up is the Durable Medical Equipment Company that the health department bought, and the Riverwalk. And so the council legislated it over, and so it's going through its Phase 2 due diligence process. And what that does is allows us to fully analyze what the statement of the as-is state of it is, and then put a plan in place for the long term to grow it. And so what I think you'll see over time is Riverwalk will be the first in a portfolio of properties that may include travel plazas in the future and other things. And so as they come in, we look to how we can make them as successful as we can now, but also what can we add to it so that when we look externally at acquisitions and investments, are we doing things that complement the assets that are coming over from the tribe? Ultimately, we hope that we do this in such a way that we build enough confidence that the tribe ends up with all of its for-profit assets in the holding company so that we create some protection for the tribe from liabilities, exposures to risk, all those things, so that the tribe can focus on services and so that the business can focus on business. And that's really the chief goal of One Fire in the first place, is to provide that separation, but on behalf of, the tribe.
And that'll wrap up another episode of Native News Today. Certainly hope that you all enjoyed our program, going and looking at NSU and their symposium coming up on the American Indian. A great event there, and its 43rd year. So many great years of that event, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. Can't thank enough Congressman Mark Wayne Mullin for letting us into his office and visiting with him about some great things and what he's doing on a national level, and certainly want to give him a big motto for that Native Vets Memorial coming up in Washington, D.C. Also, One Fire Holdings, a great job there. Mr. Warnack doing a wonderful job, and we'll be looking for great things from them in the future. Also, speaking of looking for great things in the future, you don't want to miss Native News Today. Next week, we're going to have a look back at that trip to Alabama as our entire contingency of Creek people from all over the country, and from a big one from right here in Okmulgee, went to the Horseshoe Bend commemoration 200th year, and it's a big deal. And also, if you have something not much going on tonight, go on out to the RV Ranch, Muskogee Creek Nation sponsoring the professional bull riders out there. That kicks off at about 7. You can buy tickets at the door. So with all the people around here doing a great job this week, want to thanks to the crew. Catch us on the Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care, God bless, and have a great one.